Update www.reddit.com web link. I, 30F, met my BF, 30 meters, 3 years ago. Before me he was together with his HS sweetheart. They fell out of love and broke up. A year later we started dating. His mom however was still heartbroken about it. I was very understanding and thought she needed time to get to know me. The ex basically grew up with them and they saw her as a part of their family. For the first year of my relationship his mom would call me ex's name, until BF got angry once and told her to be nice. She laughed it off and said it was just a habit. After that she started calling me the wrong name. Janet instead of Jenny, fictional names just for the story. I corrected her a couple of times but she seemed to like hurting me so I ignored it later. My BF has 2 sisters and a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving we were invited to barbecue at the older sister's house. I was in the kitchen with my BF's mom, the sisters and one of their husbands. The older sister then talked about how my BF praised my cooking to her husband and the mom was listening. She then said out loud, "Sure. Why don't we let Janet make the turkey this year?" The sisters giggled and looked at each other and I said that's a great idea. I didn't tell my BF what happened. On Thanksgiving we went to his mom's house with the usual wine and dessert. She was shocked. Hell, everybody was shocked. I said what? I thought Janet is bringing the turkey. There was yelling, crying and then we got kicked out. My BF is so angry with me he hasn't talked to me since. I think it's over TBH. But I still don't think I did anything wrong. Did I? Update at the bottom. Throw away. Okay, I know the title is confusing but hear me out. I went out to eat with my 34F, BF, 35 meters, and 2 other couples. For context I am a mother to a 5 years old, not my BF child. So 2 tables away was a new parent couple and what I can only assume was the guy's parents. I assumed this because I was that girl when I first had my child. Out to dinner with your father's child and his family and baby is being fussy, you're struggling and no one is helping you. Baby's crying for about 15 minutes now all while the father or no one else for that matter is offering her any help or a break so she can have at least a bite of her food that's been sitting there cold for about 30 minutes. I really just wanted to run to her, grab the baby for a bit and tell her to eat. This is where I have been an asshole. Baby's crying, again no one paying attention, and she goes to comfort baby and breastfeed. Well, all of a sudden she's the center of attention. Baby father says, "What are you doing? That's disgusting, go to a stall in the bathroom." At this point I lost it. My BF was trying to calm me down the entire time telling me it's none of my business but I just went ham. I got up from my table, walked over and told him if he found it so disgusting why doesn't he go eat his sandwich on the toilet. I said she has been struggling, hasn't had a bite to eat all while the 3 of you sit there enjoying yourselves and letting her drown. And then I said loud enough that the tables around could hear that anyone who is offended by a woman breastfeeding needs to get checked because breasts weren't made for men to suck on for pleasure, they were made for feeding, and that's exactly what she's doing. No one said anything but she also didn't go to the bathroom and finished feeding her baby who calmed down and she was able to eat. My BF is upset I caused a scene in front of some of his friends and everyone really at the restaurant, but I just couldn't sit back, watch, and say nothing. So Reddit, Ada for inserting myself and yelling at strangers? Just some clarification. After all the comments, I do agree and feel terrible that I could have put her in a position to get yelled at later. That wasn't my intention. I saw red, mostly because I have been through exactly this and have gone home in tears and feeling alone. I would normally not get into anyone's business. I appreciate all your feedback and for sure next time I feel the urge to say something I'm going to take a breath and find a better way to communicate that doesn't put anyone in danger or interrupt other people. My BF is still not talking to me until I apologize because again I embarrassed him, regardless of the reason. Feel like I should just send a text to his friends and keep it moving. Update. Wow guys, thank you for all the responses, support, advice and criticism. These past 24 hours have been crazy, so here's a quick update. I mentioned in a previous comment but will say again that the young mom did give me a smile as we were saying our goodbyes in the parking lot and they were leaving. In terms of this situation, like I said, I could have had more tact and really hope I didn't expose her to more abuse and retaliation. As for my boyfriend, well now ex, because he broke up, well told me he needed space with me. I showed him the thread and this is what happened. 1. Super pissed that I posted this on here. Why am I putting our business out on the internet? And basically I wanted people to turn against him, what? And more attention than I already took at the restaurant. 2. One of his friends is very conservative and while his friend didn't actually say anything to my ex, he says his friend was definitely offended by the breastfeeding at the table because it's not hygienic. He doesn't agree that she should have gone to bathroom but it wasn't the appropriate place to feed. 3. One of the things he liked about me was how I kept my mom life separate from my relationship with him. And that while he was weirded out that I never invited him to my house the entire time we've been dating, 2 years, he appreciated not having to be involved because he has never wanted kids. Doesn't like them. So basically I set a boundary from the beginning of no kid stuff. I crossed it at the restaurant and made a big scene in front of his friends who he says were also embarrassed but weren't going to say anything. So like this is all still going on. I'm a bit sad, like maybe I did do the most but also I'm like F him. Since me and my daughter's dad split 50-50 I can see how someone can see me and not realize that I'm a whole ass mother. The reason I don't let people I'm dating come to my house is because at the end of the day I don't know these people from Adam. Did you torture animals as a child? I am a 35-year-old woman and my husband is 37. I discovered the other day he had bought a PS5 as a gift for himself. But the thing is he used my money to do so without my permission, using a portion of my emergency savings that he had access to in case of an emergency. Which I do not believe being able to get your hands on a new video game console classes as. This led to a huge argument and I took the console away and reboxed it up. I debated on returning it to the shop for the money but I know my sister has been struggling to find one for my 13-year-old nephew for over a year. So instead I wrapped it up and took it round to hers and put it under the tree and quietly explained what it was and what had happened. My sister then gave me the money for it. My husband went ballistic, shouting and demanding I go get it back, which I of course refused to do, telling him as it had been bought with my money it was my choice what happened to it. He is now sulking and refusing to talk to me and acting like a huge child. Edit. For anyone curious about our money situation and why I'm so angry, we each put half our salary into a communal family fund for the house, bills, groceries etc. The other half is ours to play with as we want. My husband always blows through his and never saves a penny. Half of my expendable money goes into savings for emergencies as I'm more realistic. Second edit, stating here because of comments, he refused to pay me back as it was an emergency. Third edit, I have emptied the emergency account that he has access to and put it all in my personal account that he does not have access to, including the money I got from my sister for the PS5. I 30F have 3 bio siblings 37 meters, 36 meters, 33F, and a sister 31F. My sister, who I will call Becky bio mom, is my mom's cousin. The story of Becky getting adopted by my parents was basically her bio parents were addicts that just came one day out of the blue for a visit then abandoned her at my house. She was 5 weeks old. For a few weeks they tried to get my cousin's family to take her, but those assholes didn't want the shame of a baby with medical issues that was born out of wedlock. My parents fell in love with Becky and the rest was history. Thankfully all Becky really needed was love and a good home. She beat a lot of odds and leads a healthy, successful life. My parents never hid the fact Becky was adopted. She's biracial, and we all learned about her heritage growing up. Everything was perfect till her parents reached out when she was 22. They were clean and wanted a relationship. In the space of a few months she became a different person. It was like she hated us for taking her away from her bio parents. As soon as she finished college and got the 20,000 euros check my parents gifted her, it's a startup we all got. She ghosted us and sent a letter to my parents telling them if they ever tried to contact her again she filed a restraining order. She got married and none of us even knew. Her mother passed away when she was 26, which led her father to relapse, then unfortunately die 8 months later. After Becky reached out, my parents welcomed her back with open arms, but I still can't. Which leads to now me and my husband recently had a baby via IVF after 6 years trying, 5 natural. I brought my son to meet the family tonight and after dinner the girls of us were in the living room. I thought up how he was worth everything, explaining my struggles, and that I'm gonna start naturally trying soon so he will have a sibling. Becky made a comment about why we didn't look into adoption since the world was already overpopulated. I told her, honestly, we thought about it, but after all the shit you pulled, I'm afraid you're the reason I will never adopt. Becky yelled at me to get over it already, then left, and my mother said I shouldn't have spoke to her like that, so in the end I ended up leaving early too. My siblings are on my side, but my parents are extremely mad. Also, I'd like to point out English isn't my first language and I'm on mobile. I never use this platform, so sorry if I get anything wrong. Also, while my English is pretty good, it's not my first language. Edit. I have been informed that the word I mean was condescendingly, not descendingly, thank you. So basically, my son is a professional aerial performer and is currently performing in this large and popular horror-themed circus where we live. I know I may be biased, but in my opinion, he's really good and it's just amazing to watch him perform. Maybe a little scary sometimes, and I sometimes worry about him with some of the tricks and acts he does. My wife, however, will just tell people he works in the circus, never mentioning that he's an aerial performer, that he actually works independently and is basically a contractor. I don't know if there are any proper terms, but this is the best way I can describe it, that he works with a very large and popular circus. Just that he works in the circus. Whenever we are out and she sees a clown, she will point at it and say, "Look, it's son's name \." And it is very clear she looks down on him for what he does. She assumes he makes next to nothing and is poor. I know he doesn't make a crazy amount, but he makes enough to support himself well. This all came to a head when we were with some of her friends and one of them asked if our son could entertain her kids at a birthday party, promising to pay him generously since he must be struggling. My wife laughed and responded with, "We'll see if he's free." I butted in saying he probably won't be able to since the birthday falls on a day when popular circus \, which is where he works as a headline aerial act and is fully booked because it's so close to the new year. Almost everyone there was shocked since all this info was new to them. My wife looked pissed and left. She sat in the car and texted me that she wants to leave. I stayed for about 20 minutes answering questions and showing them some videos. The woman who asked apologized, saying she was given the impression by my wife that our son was a struggling and failing cheap circus performer and wanted to help him. When I finally left and got in the car, my wife yelled at me, saying that I made her look like an idiot and horrible mother in front of her friends. When we got home, she stormed out the car and locked herself in our bedroom crying loudly. She's been like this for almost an hour now and I'm starting to feel awful and like I could have just left it alone. So Ada,